We are kicking off with Wrestle Kingdom 18, which featured stars from New Japan, Noah, and AEW, but also featured the debut of a certain ex-superstar. During the winner-takes-all IWGP Tag Team Championship and Strong Openweight Tag Team Championship match, Dolph Ziggler appeared, now going under his real name, Nick Nemeth. Ziggler appeared alongside his brother Ryan Nemeth, and the arrival of the show-off mere days after his non-compete clause with WWE expired earned a massive reaction. Nick Nemeth did far more than just sit and watch the show, as later on, David Finlay would become the first IWGP Global Champion and get in Nemeth's face after the match. This led to a brawl between Nick and Finlay, and the two would also fight during the post-show press conference in a shocking moment. After the show, Nemeth took to Twitter and uploaded a promo video which revealed his new gimmick, depicting him as a wanted man in a police car before the zombie apocalypse happens. Nemeth has an all-out brawl with a zombie in a bar and super kicks the undead's head off, and his character seems to be that of an old-school action hero, signifying his Hollywood influence. With Nemeth no longer in WWE, the former World Heavyweight Champion will need a new theme song, and that new theme song could come from Downstait. After the character reveal, Downstait took to Twitter and dropped a cryptic hint that has ignited excitement among fans and teased that something would be coming soon. Downstait were the band behind the Dolph Ziggler theme, but have also produced entrance music for Matt Cardona, Britt Baker, Alex Riley, The Miz, and are the band behind Cody Rhodes' theme. Nick Nemeth shocked the world at Wrestle Kingdom, and fans are excited to see what's to come as the show-off intends to re-establish himself outside of WWE. Since returning to WWE, CM Punk has been a thorn in the side of Seth Rollins, who infamously called Punk a cancer and told him to stay away in January of last year. Punk clearly didn't do that, and during the recent WWE 2024 preview special, the Best in the World was honest when he was asked about his feelings of the World Heavyweight Champion. I'm in a position where I feel strange vocalizing it, but Seth is a guy, at least I felt 10 years ago, that he's a dude that I don't think he would have gotten the opportunities he's gotten if it wasn't for me, you know? That might hurt some people's feelings, but facts are facts. They don't care about your feelings. When it comes to how Seth Rollins really feels about CM Punk, the Second City Savior said that Rollins' true feelings about him are none of his business. Punk added that if Seth is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and stands in his way, then the two can figure things out in the ring in what will no doubt be an excellent match. We'll have to see what happens with CM Punk in WWE because he has a long road ahead of him. It seems that he's not going to let personal feelings get in the way of things. During this week's Dynamite, Orange Cassidy defended the International Championship against Dante Martin, but quite a few viewers were more interested in a sign in the crowd. One fan was walking up and down the hardcam sign with a WWE is fake, Jericho forever sign, but in footage making the rounds online, it was revealed that the sign was confiscated. As to the reason why the sign was confiscated, perhaps AEW didn't want the tired wrestling is fake discussion to make it to their broadcast, even though it was aimed at their competition. Perhaps AEW simply didn't want fans to be reminded of Chris Jericho given the allegations against him. And whatever the case, many fans were happy to see this sign removed from the show. Over to Smackdown now, as Roman Reigns will make his return on tonight's broadcast, which will see his challenger be decided for the Royal Rumble event. Either Randy Orton, LA Knight, or AJ Styles were in on a shot at the Tribal Chief, and on Twitter, Reigns commented on his upcoming appearance, saying everyone wants a piece of him. Judging by this week's Raw, you can add The Rock's name to the list of those who want a piece of Roman Reigns, but should the Brahma Bull face his cousin at WrestleMania 40 after all? On Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray argued that if The Rock competes in April, it'll have to be against Reigns, and advised that this not be a title match, as fans may reject the idea. A title match between the two would essentially see someone who doesn't appear a ton facing someone who appears even less, so it's understandable why fans wouldn't want gold on the line. Bully said that the whole situation feels forced, as The Rock hasn't been around for a while and is seemingly getting a title match immediately, and Ray said that a lot of people don't want to see that. Up until the return of The Rock, it seemed like Roman would be facing Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, but what do you think of Bully's comments? Sound off down below. One match WWE has reportedly been planning for WrestleMania 40 is a grudge match between Jimmy and Jey Uso, with their feud starting all the way back at SummerSlam 2023. While the pair are on separate brands, the upcoming Rumble match could reignite this feud, and this feud could be about to get even more personal if a certain return happens. According to sources within WWE, the promotion is well aware of the reports that Trinity could be returning soon, and if so, she'd fit into the Jimmy vs. Jey feud. With Jimmy being the heel, the idea is for Trinity as Naomi to return and confront her husband's behavior, with Jey being there to stand up for his sister-in-law. While there have been discussions about Naomi aligning herself with Jimmy later on, it's unclear if this is the current plan, as everything hinges on the reigning Knockouts World Champion returning. Even if Trinity doesn't return, a Jimmy vs. Jey match is likely, but don't be surprised if their feud gets even more personal in the not-too-distant future. Royal Rumble news now, as the show is mere weeks away, and this week we saw two more names throw their hats in the ring for Royal Rumble matches. During the WWE 2024 preview special, there was a promo from Becky Lynch, who was still bloodstained after her Raw match with Nia Jax, and announced that she will be in the Women's Rumble. Shinsuke Nakamura declared that he would be entering the 2024 Men's Rumble match, and vowed to finish his story in a nod to his current nemesis, Cody Rhodes. Both Lynch and Nakamura have won Royal Rumble matches, and will the pair do it again at Tropicana Field? Time will tell. During the Survivor Series press conference, Triple H made it clear that WWE would be taking their time with Jade Cargill, who is yet to compete despite being under contract for months. Fans have been left clamoring to see what Cargill can do in a WWE ring, and while she still hasn't wrestled, the former TBS champion did get physical very recently. Natalya took to her Instagram stories and uploaded a couple of training videos featuring Jade Cargill, who displayed some impressive in-ring skills at the Hart family dungeon. Cargill wasn't the only notable name training at the dungeon, as Angelo Dawkins was seen working with AEW's Ricky Starks in a contest you'd never see on TV. Starks has had WWE ties in the past, as he was backstage at the 2023 Royal Rumble, and both B-Fab and Ashanti the Adonis were also training in the dungeon. As for Cargill, she certainly looked ready for the WWE ring, but we'll have to see when the company reintroduces their free agent to TV. More from Wrestle Kingdom, as Bryan Danielson faced Kazuchika Okada in their Forbidden Door 2 rematch, and this time it was Okada who emerged victorious. This was a hard-fought match for both men, and while Danielson didn't win or fulfill his promise to break Okada's arm, he was happy about the bout, as he said on the post-match press conference, "Even in losing, that's what I've wanted for the last 13 years, coming to the Tokyo Dome and wrestling someone like Okada. Last time I wrestled Okada, I was disappointed he tapped out. Today I wrestled Okada with the fire that makes him the best wrestler in the world." Danielson wore a red and white attire for the match, and on Twitter, AEW wardrobe artist Chris Estelle said he was honored and privileged to create the attire for the American Dragon. Bryan Danielson's days as a full-time wrestler are numbered, but he certainly gave the performance of a lifetime at Wrestle Kingdom. And what did you think of the match? Sound off below. Danielson's BCC ally Jon Moxley also competed at Wrestle Kingdom 18, as he was in the IWGP Global Title Triple Threat match and wore a unique attire for his entrance. While making his entrance, Mox was wearing a red and black mask, which comic book fans recognized as being a nod to DC Comics anti-hero Red Hood, aka Jason Todd. For those not well versed in comics, Jason is the second Robin to team with Batman, but after being beaten to death by the Joker, was brought back to life and is now a gun-toting vigilante. It was definitely a cool look for the former three-time AEW World Champion, who was unable to win the IWGP Global title, but still had quite the showing in the Tokyo Dome. More from AEW, and with a new year, the promotion has a chance to get back on course after a difficult 2022 and 2023, which saw injuries and backstage issues often overshadow the show. On this week's Dynamite, Swerve Strickland beat Daniel Garcia in the main event, but after the show, Tony Khan appeared and had high expectations for Garcia. He said, "This man, Daniel Garcia, you're going to be seeing a lot of this guy in 2024, ladies and gentlemen." Garcia is one of the most talented in-ring competitors in AEW today, and seems to be moving up the card, and this week's main event may not be his last if Khan's claim is accurate. Now, Matt Riddle was released from WWE in September 2023, and while he's set to make his return to MLW this week, fans will be seeing a different side of the original Bro. Speaking to Ryan Gatos of Fox News recently, Riddle said that his presentation in WWE was focused more on entertainment, and now is the time to focus on showcasing his skills. With a refreshed perspective, the original Bro made it clear he's eager to refocus on his career and on presenting a more serious side of himself compared to his goofball persona. He said, "And now that it's the new year and I got that time and everything else like that, I think it's just time to cook again, and I've really been focusing on that and what I want to do in the ring. I feel like before was more of it's always entertainment, but it was a lot of entertainment before. And now I think the direction I'm going in, I'm going to be able to show the world what I can do in the ring and just present that version of myself rather than kind of a goofball on TV." Riddle had been on MLW's radar for years before his signing and is also set for a match with RVD later this year. And how do you feel about Riddle being more serious from here on? Later this month, Chris Jericho's cruise will once again set sail with 4 days of ocean living and wrestling in store, and matches for the cruise are already coming together. The upcoming event will see a high-stakes match between the Don Callis family's powerhouse Hobbs, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis against the trio of Chris Jericho, Paul White, and Mike Bailey. A Jericho Cruise Oceanic Championship title shot will be on the line as Michael Oku takes on Mike Bailey in a crucial bout where the winner will face champion Matt Cardona. Dante Martin, Darius Martin, and Action Andretti will face off against Commander, El Hijo del Vikingo, and Penta El Cerro M, and expect more matches to be announced for the upcoming cruise. Ever since launching, AEW has credited itself for having a connection with the fans, but recently Tony Khan's promotion have not been enjoying what the fans have been sharing online. In the hours before World's End, Chris Jericho faced allegations of misconduct with Kylie Ray, which some have said were the reason behind Ray's abrupt exit from AEW in 2019. As pointed out by a fan on Twitter, AEW took down a video of Chris Jericho getting bombarded by NDA chants during World's End, where Jericho also faced chants of Kylie Ray's name. AEW has a track record of mass takedowns, often attributed to the mysterious Donald Stevens, which some have speculated is a pseudonym used by Aubrey Edwards. The AEW president Tony Khan also refused to speak on unsourced rumors about Chris Jericho, who was backstage at this week's Dynamite but not used during the broadcast. As to whether AEW once had plans to use Chris, that's unknown, but AEW really doesn't want fans being reminded of the allegations against their first world champion. It was a few months ago that AEW introduced their first ever Continental Classic, and while Roosh was one of the 12 men in the tournament, he was working with a nagging injury. Roosh disclosed on social media that he suffered a torn hamstring during his second match in the Continental Classic, but was able to soldier on and finish the tournament. After tearing his hamstring, Roosh competed in 3 additional tournament matches and worked an 8-man tag bout at World's End last week. That match saw Roosh team with Jay Lethal, Jay White, and Brody King to lose to Mark Briscoe, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Daniel Garcia in a meeting of many Continental Classic fighters. The extent of Roosh's hamstring tear and the length of his absence from the ring were not stated in his announcement. He seems very certain with himself to make a return very soon. It remains to be seen how long Roosh will be out of action for, but we're wishing the AEW star a speedy recovery after his injury in the Continental Classic. It was just over a year ago that Mercedes Moné made her debut for New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom 17, but right now, Moné is a free agent with speculation as to what's next. Previous reports suggested that negotiations between Mercedes Moné and WWE for her return had been ongoing and that she could return, but those talks appear to have fallen through. This week, Moné's theme song from New Japan was removed from Spotify, as was her profile, which has only raised questions and fueled speculation as to what's to come for her. A return to WWE may not have materialized, but reports have indicated that a deal with AEW is not out of the question, and Moné has teased exciting prospects on the horizon for 2024. Tony Khan has spoken highly of Mercedes Moné several times, and we can't forget her appearance at AEW All In, even though she didn't get physical due to her injury. The removal of her theme song may suggest a desire for a fresh start for Moné's wrestling career, and could be a strategic move to create anticipation and intrigue among the fan base. Ultimately, only time will reveal the true significance behind this decision, and where do you think is the right place for Mercedes Moné? Share your reasoning in the comments below. There was a time when Mike Santana and Ortiz were as tight as it gets, but the former Proud and Powerful have since split due to real-life animosity. On the Shining Wizards podcast this week, Ortiz was asked about the decision to split the pair as a tag team on TV and admitted that it was a necessary move and not one made for TV. He explained, "Unfortunately, it wasn't the company's call to split us. Me and Santana just couldn't get it together personally, and he was just very adamant about not working with me anymore." Ortiz felt their on-screen breakup storyline was rushed, as it was originally meant to play out over several weeks of AEW programming. As he added, "It was supposed to happen more than once, but due to circumstances out of my control, it just never panned out." Ortiz has admitted that he doesn't know what's next for him in the ring, as he spent several years teaming with Santana, but don't expect these two to be sharing the ring, at least as allies, ever again. In September, Rick Boogs was released from WWE after not being used in the ring for some time, and he leaves the promotion as a two-time WWE 24/7 champion. Boogs' non-compete clause has expired, but he hasn't resurfaced in wrestling, and it sounds like it may be a long time before we see him back in the ring. On the Insight podcast, Boogs said he's doing better than ever right now, and when asked if he has any current plans to wrestle again, he admitted it wasn't on the agenda. He said, "No, when I first decided I was going to do wrestling, pursue it, it had to be all in on something. So like, I was doing strength and conditioning stuff, personal training. I was like, if I'm gonna commit to this other endeavor, I just quit my job, I have a wife and a daughter, I just got unemployed for the sake of, getting hungry that I really wanted to make it happen, which my wife was not happy about. She was like, why did you have to quit?" The former superstar also discussed comments on his YouTube channel and his previous claim that the removal of Vince McMahon killed his career, and didn't back down from this stance. "Well, I mean, if you look at it objectively, look at my NXT run, and then look at when I was seen by Vince and look at that run. Then, when management and the whole regime changed again, look at that run. A lot of people say, oh, he was injured. I was supposed to be brought back early when I wasn't cleared, a month or two after rehab. I was really pumped. Yeah, let's get back out there. And it was kiboshed." In one of his videos, Boogs suggested having a grudge with management and a few wrestlers backstage, and has claimed that a backstage political power play led to his release from WWE. Boogs has a lot of skills, and perhaps could look at a career in music after his release, but one place fans shouldn't expect him is in a 20x20 ring. Recently, Mackenzie Mitchell was let go from WWE in a move that surprised many, including Shawn Michaels, but now the interviewer and correspondent could be on her way back to TNA. Speaking to WrestleZone, Mitchell was asked about returning to Impact/TNA, where she worked prior to WWE, and said that it'd be a homecoming and she could see herself going back. Impact is doing a lot of big things ahead of the relaunch as TNA next week, and it's entirely possible that Mackenzie Mitchell could be a part of those plans for 2024. Now, it was revealed a few days ago that a major WWE announcement would be coming this week, and yesterday, Triple H made the reveal that Money in the Bank 2024 is coming to Toronto. While this has come as an announcement to celebrate for Canadian fans, the British have had a very different reaction, as many hoped that the show would return to London following last year's success. Fans have been left wondering whether a UK PLE will happen in 2024, as there's already shows for France and Germany, so WWE could be planning to skip the UK this year. WWE has all months announced except June and October, since there is a belief there will not be a PLE in September, as Bash in Berlin is on the last day of August. WWE gave the UK its first PLE in decades back in September 2022 with Clash at the Castle, and it's possible that a UK show could happen in October if WWE chooses to. There's also the promise made by John Cena to try to bring WrestleMania to London, but for the time being, the UK fans will have to keep waiting for their next major show. Logan Paul has often been a source of controversy, and when fans paid for NFTs from his CryptoZoo game, what they got wasn't what they paid for. Many chalked CryptoZoo, in which Paul was one of several notable names, as a scam, and now, after some lengthy backlash, the US champion is trying to make things right. Paul dropped a lengthy post on Twitter to explain that he will pay back the scam victims of the CryptoZoo fiasco, and gave instructions on how victims can get their money back. Paul added that CryptoZoo was derailed by bad actors who did steal money and betray his team, and announced that he has filed a lawsuit in Texas federal court to hold them to account. Logan Paul is doing the right thing and paying back the victims of his CryptoZoo situation. and whether his lawsuit goes anywhere or not, at least those most affected are getting their money back. And we're ending today with Drew McIntyre, who on Raw failed to capture the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins in another bitter loss for the Scottish Warrior. Fans were somewhat shocked by the result, as many predicted this time would be the one in which McIntyre would get his win, and those fans have been left wondering, what's next for Drew? McIntyre took to Twitter this week and uploaded a video of himself working out and addressing that question, and admits that he doesn't know what's next in his career. McIntyre won the Men's Royal Rumble in 2020, but he isn't being considered a favorite in the upcoming match, especially with heavy hitters like CM Punk and Cody Rhodes already confirmed. Drew McIntyre's WWE deal is set to expire this year, and there are genuine questions as to what's next, and time will tell what's to come after this week's setback on Raw.